Thank you to everybody. Now we are going to see what happened to the root system when they grow in different management. So it's important to know that how our root systems can interact when they overlap. So they are in the same niche and they can work together. And so they can interact and compete. I add the word interaction because it's very important. It's not only a competition against some nutrients, but it's also an interaction for creating a new environment that is the cenosis environment in the soil. So the reaction of the root system to the different way to manage the soil is very intense and is able to create a different morphology and chronology of growth. So generally speaking, the roots have very high plasticity. So we try to work on the upper root growth in this different soil management, watching the root plasticity, so the root morphology, the dimension of the root system, the order of ramification, and how they transmigrate and they occupy a niche. And then we went to work on seasonal root growth rate, so to try to describe how the root growth is along the season. Then in this way, if we watch all the different root systems that are working together, we can see if there is the possibility to have a competition against some weeds or not. So we work in Leimburg Research Center in north part of Italy, close to the Alpine Mountains in South Tyrol. And there was organic farming, Breburn on M9, 3 by 2 by 0.8 meter in the distances, and was drip irrigated. So we prepared this observation set, the box we called rhizotrons, and we put this in the dry valley, and we got some windows on the side that was close to the tree. So this is the systems, and we worked with 4 different management. So one was just fescue, and then a multi-species ground cover with several species. So it was a mixture that can be used on organic farming, and then shallow tillage or with or without compost added on the tillage. Then we went to work with different rhizotrons in the windows in which we were able to track the roots that were growing, and so we were able to acquire the margin and then to make the correction in the computer and to elaborate the data and make the calculation of root and diameter and length. We worked with several parameters on the growth of the plant, shoots growth, trunk diameter growth, and fruit production. I will just go through the shoot growth just to say the difference of vigor that we had in this trial. And the soil was a sandy loam soil with these characteristics, as you can see here. So, some results. First of all, the growth of the species, the herbaceous plants, the roots growth, obviously. We are working on this part of the plant. And so you can see in the 2 years, now we are following the third one right now, and we can see the different growth on the different soil management. So this is monospecific turf graph, the fescue, and this is multispecific ground cover, so the different species that we were together. And then shallow tillage, and shallow tillage plus compost. So also with shallow tillage, we had some root growth because some plants, we make the tillage only twice in a year. So some plants can grow and can produce some root system. But mainly we can see that we had 2 periods of growth during the year. One is the spring, beginning of the summer, and then another is in October, November, so the fall, that is quite mild in our region. So in the second year, this difference was very, very big, and you can see how big was the growth when you have a multi-species ground cover. What happened to the upper root growth? So upper root growths were modified at the beginning by the cut that we did on the trees, and so to put the rhizotron in the soil. So we had a response to the cut that here, and then after we have a normal growth that is a bimodal growth. So with the growth that is mainly in the spring, and then stop in the summer, and then again in October, November, in our climatic condition. You can see here that in the first year we had a growth also in the beginning of the summer, then a stop in August, September. What is the difference of the root of apple that were modified by the system, the management system? Yes, we can say yes. Mainly, we had an increase of root growth due to the shallow tillage. So shallow tillage induce a major number of roots and a, a thicker root system we see later. But we didn't see big differences between the two the two ground cover by grass. And in any case, we had a good apple root growth in all the situation. Here we can see the cumulative growth along the profile. So this is the first 10 centimeters, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, and 30 to 40. And we can see that there was no significant difference in the growth of the different treatment, except for the first 10 centimeters in which we had a decrease of the roots finally with the shallow tillage plus compost that was a municipal compost. Here you can see the the diameter, root diameter, and in this case, the smallest diameter was with the turf graft, the intermediate was with the multi-species ground cover, and then the tillage at the biggest diameter on average of the root system that was grown. About the seasonal shoot growth rate, we can see that the difference was not significant, even though there is a quite higher growth in the first period with the grasses. So at least in this trial, we didn't have any big competition between grasses and the growth of the shoots. And again, here you have the maximum growth rate of the shoot at the end in the middle of July that was with the fescue. But on the average of the period, there was no difference in the growth of the shoots. So not a big impact. That was a depressing impact due to the presence of the grasses on the soil. So, okay. So we can see that, shallow tillage was able to create thicker roots and did not increase the above ground growth. And the reiteration of the cut of the roots because of the tillage was just able to increase the root renovation and make more vigorous root growth. About the bachelor's ground cover, the two different systems I put together just to give you an idea. They have this maximum growth in spring and late summer or beginning of fall, and you can see that apple show a growth that generally is a little bit earlier than the what of the grasses, and is also a little bit later. So is in some way trying to avoid the big competition in when you have the big growth of the root system and the delay a while to get, in any case, some good soil condition to grow. I added some few uh, uh, something to debate together. If you agree, I think I have 2 minutes more, and so I really compressed the data, and the full data will be in the paper. So I just want to give you this view of the problems. So, generally speaking, I think that the root system in our apples and is generally in the trees is moving far from the trunk and is giving the opportunity to have absorption in the uh, group of very fine root system. So you don't see any good absorbing root system here close to this trunk because you have a lot of residues. So that is residues is something that is very important. We demonstrate in several experiments that residues of this roots growth can block the new root formation. So in some way, the allelopathic hypothesis, I think, is very, very important that you have in mind because the root system is obliged to abandon the niche in which he is going to grow. So he grow in the niche and then abandon the niche. That is a key point. And so if we have a good different presence of several species, this abandoned niche can be used from another root system that is eupathic for this system. So in this way, we have to think that the root system is very dynamic in occupying the soil. So absorbing roots can live for 10, 20, 30, 40 days. So then after they must abandon the place in which they are absorbing. So we have to think a very high dynamic in absorption and abandon. So the presence of several species that will for sure increase the possibility to have a better soil exploitation along the life of the orchard. That will increase also the possibility to have diversity. And this is, I think, a very nice ecological model that we have to keep in mind when we work in organic farming system. So we have to grow a xenotropic situation in which we have a very high diversity of residues that we can collect in our soil, and they can improve the quality of the soil, staying in a very rich situation of microbial activity, and the final result is having a good humidification and formation of aggregate in the soil, so the soil quality can improve fast and give stable results for a long period. I think this is also a key point to be debated when we speak about replant diseases. So we have to work in this way to get an ecological situation in which also the possibility to replant the same tree, it is possible because we created before the condition to get in that replant disease, the replant condition. Thank you.